Wow, everybody's here.
Hello,
Hi, Mario.
welcome back.
Thank you.
You had a good time?
Yeah, it's very nice.
How was the
Warm?
weather?
Perfect. It's beautiful.
You go to the beach?
No, we just hung around the pool.
Oh, okay.
How was Oxnard?
Awesome. Good weather.
Great,
Crowd.
great.
We want Mashiach now. They made their Sudas Mashiach Milas Achag. It's a whole
Oh yeah, we also had.
meal.
Yeah, we also had
It was
Chabad
flation.
came. It was
My
great.
kids all freaked out. They're like, we want pizza. I'm like, good luck getting pizza later. I'm eating.
Where
Nachi
is-
Silverman came back to shul today.
Oh, Nachi was in the show. That's great.
Oh, that's good.
How's he doing?
He looked the same to me. So
Okay, good.
maybe he lost a few pounds. I don't know.
Well,
But he looked good.
Good.
but the shul was packed in Yom Tov. Wow.
A lot of visitors.
During Yom Tov, it was packed. Hi, Walter.
Hallo Mario. Da geht ein Zimmer. Oh, Ken Alte is here. What do you
Hey,
know?
Walter.
How are you?
How are you?
Already?
Hi, Harold. Welcome home, Harold. How was
Thank you.
the
Very
Doral?
Very nice.
I heard there
Did
was
you
no
see
food.
Ivanka and Jared?
No, they weren't there.
They were in Tower 41.
Oh, probably. Where's our leader?
He just became again a grandfather, so maybe he's.
Oh, when? Today?
No, Shabbos.
Oh, Mazel Tov. I didn't know.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Had a boy. So he has now a Cohen grandson.
Oh, right, right.
No.
We even had two minyanim in Oxnard. We had Nusach Ari Lubavitch, and we had earlier minyan Nusach Ashkenaz. It was really nice.
Nice. Hi, Ernie. Mazel Tov, Ernie.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
very
just
much.
Mazel
heard.
Tov,
Great.
doctor.
Harold, I'm like related to you. I have a grandson who's
I
a
know, I heard. That's fantastic.
I never dreamed of that.
Yeah.
Probably end up davening at Young Israel. Young Israel has all the Kohanim. No Levine, but all the Kohanim.
He's going to bench you.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody's Pesach was great.
Very good. Yeah.
Mhm.
A little bit too good.
Kenny, you were in Oxnard, right?
I was in Oxnard with 31 relatives. It was awesome.
Wow.
Oh,
And you got along?
No comments.
okay. So let me ask everybody a question.
Sounds ominous.
No. Tomorrow night, we have the Tsurba Mirabonon Shir, and I can only teach that at 9:00 at night. I can't teach it at 8:00 tomorrow. And
I'm okay.
therefore, I was wondering maybe if we could learn the daf tomorrow morning, like we do it on Friday at 8:00 in the morning.
Sure.
It works.
I can do it.
All right.
Okay.
Fine. So we'll do it tomorrow at 8:00. That way we won't fall behind in the daf. And the Tsurba will be at 9:00 p.m.
Okay.
Nice
We're on-
idea.
We're on Yud Daled 14. Oh, by the way, Kenny, was there a Daf Yomi in Oxnard?
The Daf Yomi was me, myself, and Art Scroll.
Okay. But there was a lot of people there. You think that
We had 2 minyanim. Each minyan was 30 people, I'd say.
so somebody should have given a daf there. Kenny, you should have arranged it. A Harold, was there a Daf Yomi by you? I'm sure there was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Amrab, so
14.
14, right. Amrab Chanina, Mandam Rachman of Vatrin. A person says that a Kodesh Baruch Hu does not give justice to people when they deserve it. But Yevatrun b'nei me'ayin, his intestines will be loosened. That means like if he's loose, if Hashem is loose in how he metes out justice, if a person says that, such a person, he will be cursed with loose bowels. Ella marich ruchei gabidide. If one looks at a sinner and sees that Hashem is not punishing him, don't think that it's not that he's not punishing him. It's just that Kodesh Baruch Hu takes his time, and he will mete out justice perhaps at a later time. Aravach Aksiv usvivav nisara me'od, and the word nisara is written with a sin, but if you read it with a shin, it means hair, which means medakdek imoin kechut hasara. Excuse me, it's written with a shin, and you could darshan it with a sin, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with his tzaddikim, he judges them like the width of a hair, which means for other people, if they did a certain act, it wouldn't even be considered an avera. But for a tzaddik, HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges him so carefully that it might be considered inappropriate. Famous example is when Yaakov Avinu put Dinah in a box when they crossed the river. He didn't want Esav to see her. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu took him to task for it, because Yaakov was concerned, I think, that Esav was going to marry her, and he didn't want that. But the truth is, Dinah could have been Machzer him Latov, and for that act, Yaakov it's considered as if he did something inappropriate. Now, for you and I, we would be considered tzaddikim if we did it, in a sense. Oh, we're gonna make sure that we cover up our daughter, that nobody sees them for tznius reasons, etc. We would be considered tzaddikim, but for a tzaddik on a certain level, it might not. That's an example. There's many other examples how the tzaddikim are judged kechut hasara. Arav Yosef, lo mitam zeh, it's a different source to teach me that din. Ella min madikosav v'noira hu al kol savivov. Hashem is noira for the people who surround him. His fear is spread to his kroivim. That means the tzaddikim more than the rechoikim. Rav Chanyoy b'shem Rav Shmuel bar Nachman ma'is b'chosid echad shahai choifer bar esichin u'ma'aris la'oivim v'shavim. There was a certain righteous person who made sure that Jews had access to water. He would dig wells and ditches for travelers. His daughter was traveling to get married. V'shatfa nahar, and a river overflowed and washed her away. And everyone thought she had died. You could see, of course, the irony in a person whose life was spent making sure that people had water, that he was punished through water. Everyone came to be Menachem Ava. He refused to be misnachem. He wasn't. He didn't accept comfort. He didn't accept Sidur Kadin. So all Rav Pinchas ben Yair legabe, Rav Pinchas ben Yair visited him. Boy Menachem and tried to comfort him. Also didn't accept nechama. Amarlon dinu chasidcha. This is the person you call a chassid. He's not willing to accept Sidur Kadin. Listen, this guy was in charge of water, and his daughter got washed away by a flowing river. He could it be possible that he was mechaber? He gave honor to Kodesh Baruch Hu through Gemilas Chesed to provide people with water, and he should be punished. Yad nafla avra be'ir. Immediately, a noise went up in the city. Bas bito shaloi saish. The daughter was alive. Is the army besuchsa isra is? Some people say that a branch, she grabbed onto a branch to save her. The Israeli malach yarad kidmus Rav Pinchas ben Yair v'tzila. That a malach, like some say, that looked like Rav Pinchas ben Yair, saved her. Now, let's remember. There's another example in Tanakh where somebody was not miskabel comfort, and there was a reason for it, is because Chazal tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has hardwired us that when we lose a loved one, we aren't comforted. After a year or after the period of time of Avelus, the pain becomes much more bearable. This person was not misnachem because his daughter really wasn't dead. And there's a case like that. That's the case of Yaakov and Yosef. Remember, the Torah also says when Yosef was, they told him that Yosef was killed. So it says Yaakov refused to be Menachem. Well, the reason there also is because really Yosef was alive. So that function that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has built into us really didn't operate because he really wasn't dead. Okay. Gvini Cruz. So the Mishnah listed 15 different officers in the Beis HaMikdash that were in charge of different functions in the Beis HaMikdash. Gvos Shaya Machris Beis HaMikdash. He was he was the announcer. Maya Oimer. What did he announce? Imdu Akwanim Lavoida. Kohanim wake up for the Avodah. Levim L'duchana. Levim have to go to the stage. V'Yisrael Mamadon. And he announced with such a loud voice that Agrippus HaMelech Shama Koloi at Ches Parsos. He heard him from 8 parsos. A parsos 3 mil. A mil is like a kilometer. It's about 22 miles. And also in Madness Harbe. And this Agrippus HaMelech, who was one of the kings, one of the Roman governors, gave this Gvini a lot of presents. Ben Gever al Nilas Sha'arim. Ben Gever was in charge of locking the gates. Tirgem Rav Kumit Ves Rav Shila Kro Gover Achriz Cruza. It's like a rooster crowing. It's still a comment on the Ben Gever. Armalei Vatanin Ben Gever. He was called Ben Gever. Bar Tanagola. Like the son of a rooster. Refers to a person. Then Ben Bavi Alapakia. He was in charge of the wicks for the menorah. Shayamazik Psilois. He would braid them. Rav Yossi all the Kufra. Rav Yossi went to Kufra. Boy Mimani Alein Parnasein. He he tried to appoint people who would be like the president of the shul. The people didn't accept. Look at Bobby ben Pekia, the guy in charge of the wicks. Here, all his job was to make the wicks. He was counted among the Gdolah Datem. You are in charge of human life. You have to give tzedakah to people, like kol shekain, that you'll be mismane in Gdolah Ador. Ben Arza alat slotzol. Ben Arza crashed the cymbals. Kihad Taninan Taman. Heini Faskan Besudrin. The vice kohen would raise a flag, and this would lead to some actions. Hikish Ben Arza alat slotzol. That was the signal that Ben Arza would crash the cymbal. And Hugris ben Levi al-Ashir. Hugris ben Levi was the choir master. He led the Levi and made all the harmonies. He knew beautiful melodies. Hugris ben Levi. We said about Hugris ben Levi, She'amanim is kolo bezemer. He would make the harmonious voices. He would stick his thumb in his mouth. He was able to produce beautiful sounds. And everybody was astounded at the musical at his musicality. Beis Garmu Amaisa Lechem Aponim. The house of Garmu, they manufactured Lechem Aponim. Now, the Lechem Aponim was like a reverse chet, right? With the opening of the chet up. And then you had 6 on one, they were piled on top of each other, and 6 piled on top of each other. It was very complicated to bake this. And to take it out of the oven, it would break. But Beis Garmu, they were expert in how to bake it. Uviridioso. Wasn't just how to bake it, but how to remove it from the oven without breaking it. And they didn't want to teach anybody else this secret. They brought craftsmen from Alexandria. Alexandria at the time is New York City for the known world, or London. Alexandria of Egypt was the great city at that time. Of course, there was Rome too, but Alexandria was more ancient. There was a famous library in Alexandria, which was eventually burnt down. A lot of things were lost there. But it's interesting that they called craftsmen from Alexandria, and they must have studied or learned how to do it. But law you became. But in the end, it was not gelungen for them. It didn't work. They broke up. They would heat up the oven from inside, and they would remove it from the outside, and it wouldn't become moldy. They would heat the oven up from the inside and try to remove the lechem aponim from the inside, but it would become moldy. Even Chacham learned about this. Everything Kadosh Baruch Hu built, he built for his kavod. Shneimar kol pala shem lamano. Sholchu achreim lo rotzu lovo. They needed this family of Beis Garmu. They didn't want to come. Ad shekaflu lem schorn yud beis mana. Hayunoitli. Till they doubled their salary to pay them 12 mana. Or they used to get paid 12 mana. Or now they gave them 24. Or you just said they used to be paid chavdalad. Now they gave them 48. So the Chachamim asked them, why are you so stingy with your knowledge? How How come you don't want to teach? Really, they were tzaddikim. Masorasi biyadeinu avosenu. We have a tradition, Shabbayis hazeh osid lichorev, that this Beis Hamikdash is going to be destroyed. And if we had taught this skill to other people, they'll end up making the lechem aponim for avodah zarah. This they are remembered for praise. None of the children in their family would you find in the street with white bread. So people wouldn't say that the family was filching from the lechem aponim and eating lechem aponim bread. We'll hear a similar story about Beis Avtinas, about the family of Avtinas on Maisa Ktoiras. They were the family that were in charge of the Ktoiras. So Beis Avtinas ayu bikin al Maisa pitum Ktoiras. They knew how to mix all these spices to make what was so special about the pitum Ktoiras. Uvemale ha'ashan. They made it in a way so that the smoke rose in a single column, and then when it came up to the top, it would spread up on the top. That was the way the Ktoiras smoked. And it had to do with the various ingredients and the ratios of the ingredients. They also didn't want to teach this craft. Again, they brought from Alexandria. These people claimed that they also knew how to do it. However, they didn't know how to make the smoke rise properly. Why? Initially, the smoke would rise like a stick, and then it would spread out and come down. The Alexandrians, it would rise not in a stick. So Kivin Shir Chacham Bedavar, once the Chachamim found out, again, if he created these families who be able to know this, it did it in a proper way, that it should be mechabedim. Shnema kol anikra b'shmi l'chvoidi barasi. Kol masha pol HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo yipal l'maneyu. Shnema kol pal Hashem maneh. It's done for Hashem. Shalchu achreihem v'lo ratzu lavo. So it was only this family that knew how to do it. So Chachamim wanted them to come back to work. Ad shekafa and schar yud beis mana yunoid v'noisel and beis chav dalet. That if their salary was 12 mana, then now they gave him 24. Rav Yudah Merchav Dalet, you know, it's 24, now it's 48. Again, they asked them, why don't you teach the secret? We have also Masorah that the Beis Hamikdash is going to be destroyed. And if we teach this, they'll do it in front of an avodah zarah. In the following way, the later generation praised Beis Avtinas. Their wives would dafka not wear perfume, so people wouldn't say that they're stealing some of the Ketores. To fulfill the pasuk that if you're entrusted with public funds, you're not to use it for personal gain. I was in Yerushalayim and I found a child of this family. Amarti Lo b'ni. I said to him, my son, Mezu mishpacha at. From what family are you? Mishpachas ploini. He says from this mishpacha, Michael B'ni Avisecha, the fish is kabel rabbis kvoidon l'mayt kvod shamayim. Initially, Rabbi Yossi thought that they were trying to be, by not teaching, because they wanted to increase their kavod, but by virtue of not teaching it would minimize kvod shamayim. Lefichach kvodim nismayt kvod shamayim nisrapet. And therefore, their personal honor went down. L'chvod shamayim nisrapet. Rabbi Kiva Sachli Shimon ben Luga. So Rabbi Kiva said, Shimon ben Luga told me, I was gathering grass. It was me and one of these children from Beis Avtinas. I saw one of them crying, one of them laughing. Omarti lo, I said to him, B'ni lama b'chisa. Why did you cry? Look at what happened to my family. The kavod went down. The lama sachakta. Why did you laugh? I'm laughing because of the kavod that the future tzaddikim will get. Umara, so what grass did you see? Mala ashla negdi. It's this special grass that was added that caused the smoke to go up. So I quickly told him, son, show me where it is. I have a tradition for my family not to reveal it to anybody. For the same reason that they said before, so that people wouldn't use it for avodah zarah. An elder of the Beis Avtinas bumped into me. He had a recipe book. In the past, my family was very modest. And this scroll would pass down from one generation to another. Now we don't have the house anymore. He gave to Rav Yochanan the Megillah. The Zarba, he told him, be careful with it. When I told over this whole story of Rabbi Kiva, Zolgo ein of Dmos, his eyes filled with tears. Because sometimes initially people would cast aspersions on his family for being arrogant, not wanting to teach. But now that he found out the true reason, Rabbi Kiva obviously changed his mind. Then it said Elazar la paroiches. He was in charge of weaving the curtains. Shai mamun alorge paroiches. Pinchas amalbish. He was the tailor. Shai amalbish bigdei kahuna. He would clothe the kohanim. Gedoyle ma'aser b'kohen echad. Shehilbish liistroitya echad. A kohen. Oh, the big day kohen gedola. He dressed the kohen gadol, and then there was a kohen who dressed a Roman officer. Then V'nosan Lashmonazu gave him 8 golden coins. V'itam and Treasaryav gave him 12 golden coins. So he was an expert tailor. Shows you how what a good tailors they were. That even the Romans would use them to make beautiful uniforms. Mishnah. Ein person mishiva amei kulin. This is like a trustee, a supervisor. They even had authority over the treasurers. The treasurers, we'll see, are the ones who actually collected and dispersed the money. But then there were administrators above them. That's the Shiva Merekalim. Ushlosha Gizborn, and 3 people that were actually the treasurers. They would run the cashier. They would be like the cashier, give out receipts. When you make a position of authority that's dealing with the tzibur, always there should be a minimum of 2 people. 2 people. Very interesting. I know there's some accountants in this group that when I first went into practice, I was a solo practitioner. And I remember in my first year, second year, I already got audited by the IRS. And then my 3rd year, I made a partnership with my partner, Dr. Palitz. We were a partnership. Then, of course, we became a corporation later on. And I've never been audited since. And my accountant always told me that a sole practitioner or anyone who is much more prone to be audited because you are more prone, or the IRS thinks you're more prone to mix private and public funds. But when you have a partnership, so each partner looks at the other and watches the other, so there's much less auditing. So in a similar vein, having one person in authority can lead to corruption. You have 2 people, they watch each other. Mishnah already said this 2,000 years ago, that you shouldn't appoint people in the Jewish community who are entrusted with funds, pachos mishnayim. Now, in the list of officers that we went through, chutz mi ben achia shal chole me'ayim, he was the one that was in charge. He was like the doctor who diagnosed and treated the intestinal ailments of the Kohanim. They must have been very honest, and they ran their independent budgets by themselves. You can't have less than 3 treasurers and 7 administrators. Tani, Mishnei Ketlikin. Katlikin is a controller. They were even above those Amerkulin, the controllers. Interesting, Katalikin, almost like from a Catholic, Katalikin. So Harehu Dichsiv, Vayechiel Vazuyahu, the Nachti Gizbarin, these 3 were the treasurers. Basal Virimot, Vizabed, Velial, Vismecheu, Umechas Uvnayahu were the 7 Amerkulin. Pkidin. Miyad Konanayu Vishimi Echav Katalikin. Konanayu and Shimi were these controllers. B'mifkad Yechizkiyahu Melech, they were in the administration of Chizkiyahu Melech. Vazaryahu Nogid Beis Elokim. Now, HaMelech and Kohen Gadol. The Melech and the Kohen Gadol were part of this administration. Now, when they were taking out money or putting in money, they would seal the room. And there was different seals. First, the Gizbar would seal the Noisel Amarkel, and then the Amarkel would put his own seal there, and then the Noisel Katakalikin. Then they would be the Katalikin's turn. Katalikin Choisim would sign it. The Noisel Kohen Gadol would sign it. Choisim the Noisel Melech, and the Melech would put his own signet. Whatever the seal was, and then when they opened it up again, Shumatir HaMelech Roach Choisma, the king would make sure his seal was undisturbed. Umatir, and then open it. Kohen Gadol Roach Choisma Umatir. Kohen Gadol would see that no one had tampered with his seal, would open it. Katalik and Roach Choisma Umatir. These controllers would see the seal, open it. Each Amerkel would Roach Choisma Umatir. And then the Gizbar Roach Choisma Umatir. Wow, what a security system. control after control after control. Then the Gemara said, the authority figures always have to be at least two. Rav Nachman b'shem Rav Mana al Shem v'heim yichus hazahav v'esatcheles v'sargaman. What do you mean v'heim yikhu? Plural. That this is when they built the Mishkan. They shall take the gold and the tchel. It's not v'hu yikach with v'heim yikhu, meaning it was always two people, minimum of two people. That's the source for that. Rav Chaba be Rav Chanina mipsoila shaluchos Hesher Moshe, that Moshe Rabbeinu became wealthy from when it says Psalacha, Moshe, the second Luchos, was that they were made out of sapphire. And when he engraved the Luchos, he was allowed to keep the remnants and became wealthy from that. Psalacha, Shnei Luchos Avonim, Psalacha Shetei Apsoilis Shalcha. He was given the psoilas. Now, Rav Chanin, no, Machzev Shalavonim Tovis Margolios, Borla Kodesh Baruch Mitocholo. It's Machloikas. Not everybody holds that Moshe got it from the Luchos. That Hashem gave him a mine, access to a mine of precious stones and pearls in his tent. Umimenu Hesher Moshe. Ksiv. The Jewish people would follow Moshe until he went into his tent. Train on my Ryan. How to understand that. One said that gave a pshat, which is a bad pshat. One gave a good pshat. Look how fat Moshe Rabbeinu's legs are. Chamin Karin, Chamin Koipid. Look how thick he is. He's eating ochel min diudoi. He's eating from Jewish money. V'shasim min diudoi, and he's drinking from Jewish money. Kon madle min diudoi. It's all from Jews' money. U'mandar v'lishvach. Machmit tzadika. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is such a tzaddik, who should have the privilege to even look upon Moshe Rabbeinu? So you see in every generation, its leaders are knocked down a peg. Mishnah. Dal Chois Masai B'Migdash. Choismos are receipts that when you went to the cashier, when you brought a korban, you had to bring a mincha, nesachim, minchas nesachim, wine, flour, and oil, different amounts. So you'd pay your money, and this cashier would give you a receipt, a choisim, which would have 4 words on it, either egel, sivalen, egel zachar, gedi, egel, zachar, which is a ram, egel is a calf, zachar is a ram, gedi is a goat, v'choten sinner. Ben Azai Omer Heyayu. There were 5, not 4. And they were written in Aramaic by Yovaramos. Alen Egel, which is the calf, Dekar, which is Aramaic for Zachar, which is a ram, Gedi, a goat, Chote Dal, a poor sinner, V'chote Asher. And the Mishnah will explain all this. Egel, Mishamish im Niske Bokar. That was the receipt because there's different amounts. For Bokar, you had 3/10 of an ephah of flour, half a hin of olive oil, and half a hin of wine. So that's how much they would give you for giving him an egel. Whether they were big korbanos, small korbanos, male or female. Gedi, the goat receipt meshamish im niskat son. Whether they were big or small, male or female. That's 1/10 of an ephah for flour and a quarter hin, which is 3 log of oil and wine. Chutz mishel elim. The rams were different. Ayal mishamish im nische elim. Right? The one that the receipt called Zochar was brought when you brought a ram, which is 2/10 of an ephah flour and 1/3 of a hin, which is 4 log of oil and wine. Now, the chote is mishamish in niske sholosh behemoths shel mitzorah. A wealthy mitzorah would bring 3 animals, and they need it was 3 lambs, and then you needed another log of oil to put on the thumb and the big toe of the mitzorah. Now, if the mitzorah couldn't afford 3 lambs, he brought a lamb and 2 birds. Now, so if you needed these nesachim, you got the receipt, and then I'm sorry, Yochanan was the cashier. He was in charge of giving out the receipts. So you would give him money. You got the whatever chosim you needed, the one for the bakar, the one for the ram. Then you would take the receipt. Balo Achia gave out whatever you needed, the flour, the olive, the oil, and the wine. You would give him noisin like chosim and the sachim. Now, they would reconcile at the end of the day. Le'erev boyin zeh, right? You'd have to reckon up. So much money was given, so many receipts were given. So the 2 guys would meet up at the evening. He would take out all the receipts, connected mois, and he would have to be paid the same amount of money that was collected for the receipts. If there was less, he'd have to pay the difference out of his pocket. Right? If there was extra, the Hegdish got to keep the extra. The Beis Din is always on the right. Now, let's say somebody had paid his money. He was given a receipt. He lost the receipt. You wait until evening. Now, let's say they found a discrepancy exactly like his receipt. So obviously, he's owed the material. They gave it to him. But if it wasn't exact, they wouldn't give him if it wasn't exact. You would also write down the name of the day in case somebody would find an old receipt and present it. And then they would see the date, and that would prevent any kind of trickery or deceit. Now, Ben Azai, who learned that there's 5, Chote Dal Lamaya Mevi. What does the Chote Dal receipt bring? Lugo Imo. Remember, he only has to bring 1 log, which is that extra log that goes for the mitzorah. Ram Krabanon, Mevi Gdi Niske Rachel. According to Chachamim, they bring the wine libations for the lamb. Mamin Man Tanin Gdi Mishamish Niske Tzon Gedol Muktanim Nischayim in the Kefos. But we already said, why should that be? We already said, get a receipt for Gedi. That'll give you the amount for a goat or a sheep. Amri Niske Rachel can Niske Gedi. The sheep and the goat were the same. The chsiv Kama Yasel L'Shor Achad, or L'Ayla Achad, or L'Seba Kvasim or Baizim. So goats and sheep were treated exactly the same way. L'Shor Echad, Lama Nemar. When it says to the Shora Echad, why is it Magid? Shlocholak bein Niske Egel Niske Shor. It's the same amount of libations, whether or not it's for a calf or an ox. Shahaya Bedin Ben Atzon Tornesachim or Ben Abokon Tornesachim. The sheep and cattle get libations. Now, a ram is a sheep, it's just older. So if we made a difference between a young sheep and an older sheep, I would have thought the kach nachluk beniske egel niske shor. So I would have thought you have to make a difference between a calf and an ox. Talmud lo mar kacha yasel shor echad. Magid shlechalak beniske egel and niske shor. Period. Okay. So tomorrow we'll pick it up at 8 in the morning. We shouldn't be long. It should take us about a half hour.